If your Google Ads account is suspended for circumventing Google's advertiser verification policies, then you come to the right spot, because I'm going to talk about what that means, some different things that can cause that, and how to fix it. And my name is John from Stub Group. We are a Google Premier Partner and the #1 resource in the world for fixing Google suspensions and policy issues. So what does it mean to circumvent Google's advertiser verification systems? Well, advertiser verification is a process where Google requires you as an advertiser to upload some information to Google about your identity. Usually this would be business documentation like articles of incorporation or LLC formation, as well as photo ID for someone who is involved with the company. There's also a more complicated type of verification called business operations verification that can play a role. But I would say most of the time where I see this circumventing advertiser verification suspension actually relates to the advertiser identity verification part. So we've helped a number of clients figure this out, deal with this situation. And here are some of the common things that we've found be a problem. First of all, usually there are multiple businesses or business names involved. Sometimes there's actually multiple businesses and multiple ad accounts, and either things are set up incorrectly and that's confusing Google, or the wrong information has been uploaded to different accounts and that looks problematic, or something along those lines. We've also seen situations where there are separate business names. So for example, there's a DBA that's involved. So we had a situation where the name of the original entity was in the payment profile in Google Ads, but then the documentation that was provided to Google was for a DBA name, which was different. And that created issues because there were mismatches in the business name, and that looked problematic to Google. Those are often involved, and we've seen some pretty complicated situations where, again, there's the wrong name in different places, or there's just a lack of clarity around how things are set up. And so we usually kind of take a step back, look at how things are created from the ground up, and then make the changes that need to be made in terms of the payment profiles and business names to fix those mismatches and get things where they need to be from Google's perspective. Other things that can be an issue would be if you are repeatedly providing the wrong documentation to Google. Again, this kind of falls under the, hey, wrong business name, DBA, stuff like that. That can be a problem. And if you're doing that repeatedly, then that can become a serious problem. As well as, this is not as often the case, but I've seen issues with this as well, where there's just logistical problems with the documents you upload. So for example, a photo of a license and your thumb is covering part of the license. Well, that's a problem for Google. They need to see all 4 edges completely. So sometimes even little things like that, those are more likely to kind of be caught and kicked back immediately by Google's AI, less likely to be a part of the actual circumventing suspension, but sometimes they can contribute. And then sometimes there are just incredibly weird Google glitches. As an example, we had a situation recently where a client was dealing with this type of suspension. They had a regular Google Ads account and a local service ads account with Google. And somehow in that local service ads account, Google had associated a license with the account that had nothing to do with our client or their business. Completely different business that did exist, and it was a license related to that business, but had nothing to do with our client. And we even were able to confirm that our client didn't add it by working with the local service ad support and looking at change history. And to make things even more weird, there wasn't even a way our client could add it because they were in an industry that didn't even require that certification, or that license, I should say. And there was not even an option in the account for the client to upload the license to Google, and yet somehow it got associated. And that was part of the issue, we think, with the suspension, is because there's this other business's random license associated with their account. And so weird things like that do happen sometimes. And when that happens, you gotta kind of work with Google support and sometimes escalate things internally to try and get things where you need to be so that you can fix things from Google's perspective and then get that circumventing suspension lifted. So is it possible to fix suspensions of this type? Absolutely. We've done it many times. Is it easy? Not always. Sometimes it requires a lot of strategic and creative thinking and a lot of elbow grease of working with Google and sometimes escalating things internally to make it happen. And if you are dealing with this type of suspension and would like some help, some guidance, some work done on your behalf, please reach out through stubgroup.com and we'd love to talk.